a world in which there are many legends, including a 7-star player who conquered the top in the list of ranks in terms of combat power. He also completed a mission to protect the city and single-handedly killed 108 invaders, which secured him a place in the Hall of Fame. A 7-star player single-handedly killed the final boss of the world, which is the Demon Lord. It took him only 30 minutes, thus he broke the record of 50 minutes, which was set by a group of 4 people under the banner of the Guild of Heavenly Gods. A 7-star player single-handedly completed the final dungeon quest called Battle of Heaven. He killed the final boss of the Law of Heaven in 30 minutes, thereby setting another record that no player or guild has been able to beat so far. This same world is full of countless hopeless situations. From the impenetrable crowd gathered at the table, a man's voice was heard calling Kai's in. The guy responds, talking about his presence, and shouts that he takes 6 pieces, then thanks. There was a poster on a huge glass enclosed building announcing the official release of a VR game called Ancient Gods. The guy, having bought at the release, very diligently holds a mountain of boxes in his hands and thinks that if he resells them, he can get 1,000 yuan of net profit from each, and this money is enough to pay for his studies. But first he needs to pay the bills for his sister's treatment. He remembers how he promised his sister, lying unconscious in a hospital bed, that he would never play again and would be next to her, if only she would wake up. A hail from the side pulls him out of his memories. The guy responds and hurriedly goes towards this person. A young man with blonde hair cut like a pot twirls a stick in his mouth and says that he transferred the money. The out-of-breath guy thanks and looks into the phone when he realizes that there are only 40,000 yuan and informs the unpleasant person that he was mistaken. He answers him that 2 of his friends have changed their minds and leaves with boxes in their hands. The stunned young man grabs the buyer by the hand and stops him, reminding him that they have an agreement. He buys 6 pieces to the customer, and he, in turn, pays 6,000 yuan on top. The man turns his head, casting a haughty glance at the young man, and asks if the guy has proof, which greatly shocks the second. The young man asks the man not to joke like that and is interested in what he should do with the remaining 2 boxes, and even if so, he should give him another 4,000 yuan for these 4 boxes that he took. The buyer suddenly starts shouting to the whole street that the dealer is trying to cheat him for money. People start to turn around, and the young man is scared. Several men standing in line menacingly headed in his direction, showering insults and rolling up their sleeves, preparing for a fight. Shouts sounded from the sides to grab the fraudster. The young man is in a panic and gives a helmet out of one box, surrounded by a crowd of aggressive-minded people, shouting that he bought it for himself, and all this is a big misunderstanding. The unpaid man disappears into the crowd. It's a sunny day. On a high floor, a young man is sitting on a bed and clutching the helmet he bought to his chest, cursing out loud at the person who deceived him. He says that from tomorrow it will be impossible to activate the gifts of the first day, and besides, the official version will cost only 5,000 yuan. The annoyed guy shouts about what a jerk he is and hits his cheek with his palm, bringing himself to his senses and punishing at the same time. He is very busy talking about the fact that even if he sells the remaining 2 at a 50% discount, he will still lose 10,000 and does not understand how he can then cover the costs. The phone rang, and the young man almost immediately picked up the phone, frustratedly telling Tang Hua on the other side of the wire that he had been divorced. Almost instantly, the interlocutor laughs in response to the sincerity of the guy and laughs at the fact that the dealer finally got what he deserved. The young man is furious and sends the interlocutor, asking him to be more humane. Then he says through his teeth that he has 2 pieces left and asks if the interlocutor needs them. He answers him that he has already ordered a deluxe version for himself and that he can ask around. He can definitely sell one. The student taunts him in response that he needs to sell 2. Tang Hua is stopped by the car, talking on the phone with the main character. He says that the guy should keep one for himself, since the game currency can be converted into real money, and that he hopes that the guy will forget him, pronouncing his nickname God of 7 stars with a smile, but immediately stopped, covering his mouth with his hand, and said that he had not said anything. The interlocutor finally said that he would go to look for a buyer for him and hangs up. The next moment the beeps sound, and the main character again plunges into memories of his sister, how she told him that it was enough to play games forever, and that since parents didn't care, she would take care of him. She constantly pulled her brother out of games by force, using arguments like rapidly deteriorating eyesight. But one day, when she called him to eat, he was involved in the game as usual and heard only his sister's scream when she fell on the corner of the kitchen table. He decided that if he could earn money in this way to save his sister, he would come back, but this time he would not play for himself. He puts on a virtual reality helmet and loudly pronounces the word of entry. The voice greets the adventurer Kaizin and ancient gods. Kaizin opens his eyes and finds himself on the login screen, where it says that his region is defined and loading is underway. He was surprised that there is nothing on the login screen. A ball appears in front of him, on which there are many different numbers, and a voice says that before moving on to creating a character, a bone with 100 faces will be thrown. He will receive a prize depending on what number he got. If 0 falls out, then he gets nothing, and for every 10 the reward will double. If the number 99 falls out, this is a special reward that only 10 players can receive. Kaizin immediately concluded that he would probably get 0, because experienced players like him are never lucky. The bone was thrown and spun rapidly, while Kaizin was trying to predict what number he would get. First he sees 87, then he gets upset deciding that he was right when he saw 29. Then accepts his fate, deciding that even 9 would be better than 0. He is already covering his face, afraid to see the result, as a voice pronounces words of congratulations, forcing him to open his eyes. The voice says that he got the number 99, and at the moment he is the only player on the server who got this number, and now goes to the awards. Kaizin is so stunned by his luck that he cannot believe what is happening, asking himself if he is dreaming all this. A female voice called the young man from behind. He turned around and an unimaginably beautiful girl stood in front of his eyes. After a short delay, he realized that this was Kai Zioman, the first award. She is also a personal assistant. The idol Kai Zioman was chosen after scanning his brainwaves. The girl asked if he wanted to change his appearance. The student blushed from the beauty of the assistant and showing his thumb with one hand, while waving a negative gesture with his hand. Said with full confidence that nothing needed to be changed and everything was fine, inadvertently clarifying whether it was possible to take off the swimsuit, which was now the only clothes on the personal assistant in the image of a girl. The assistant, in turn, politely asked the guy to follow the rules set out in the user agreement, otherwise his account may be banned. Kaizin immediately bowed and asked for forgiveness, saying that he did not mean to offend her. Raising his head again, the guy asked what other awards there were. The female voice continued, saying that his next reward was the choice of 9, and politely asked the guy to touch one of the 9 spheres that appeared in front of him to receive the award. Kaizin obediently poked his finger at the first sphere that caught his eye. The next moment a voice said congratulations and explained that he had received 2 places for the main role and 3 places for the supporting role. 5 blue circles with icons of various roles surfaced in front of the guy, 2 of which depicted a treatment icon. The others a shield, a bow, and a sword. The voice continued the explanation, saying that in the village of beginners, the hero will be able to find non-player characters who will help him change classes and learn various skills. As he continues to receive rewards, he has 5 additional points of characteristics, which means that every time the level increases, he will receive 5 additional points of characteristics. He also received 3 additional pets when their limit is 2, and now he can have 5 pets available that will help him in battle. Just in the awards, he received 1 new pet, Bloodthirsty Black Dragon. His maximum level is 1000. The sword is an artifact of growth, which can be called as the player wants. The characteristics of the weapon will grow along with the level of the carrier. He gets a unique skill Master of Weapons. Now he is a master of any weapon, so he can ignore the requirements of weapons to the class and use any weapon at the highest level. A special class scroll that will generate a class assignment for him when he enters the game. He also receives a quest to become a god, which he will be able to accept after creating a character and entering the game. And last, he receives a unique race, the Guardian Zhengmu, the heir of Xuanlin. Kaizin is so stunned by how he was showered with very good, or even the best items, and the first thing he thought about was that maybe it was some kind of divorce, because this is a complete imbalance. A personal assistant in the image of Kai Zioman said that it was time to create a character, and first you need to choose a race. Kaizin agreed and asked what races there were, to which the assistant immediately recommended choosing the Guardian race he had just discovered, Zhengmu, the heir of Xuanlin. She said that this is a demigod level race and the blood of the gods flows in it, and its initial value is 42 points. The girl continued the story about the other races, man 30 points, monster 35 points. But the guy interrupts her, saying that she cannot list further and that he is not an idiot, and chooses a unique race. Continuing to soar in the clouds, Kaizin revels in the fact that the initial value of his race is 45 points, and each level he will receive an additional 5 points. That is, with each level, he will have more points than the others. One of his levels is 1.5 levels of an ordinary player. He admires the thought of being invincible. The personal assistant interrupts the moment of blind happiness and clarifies that those who have received a unique award must lead people in the footsteps of the gods, which means that when he creates a second account, he will be prohibited from creating a character of the human race or any other race that is higher than humans. The guy does not understand the warning and says that he does not need a second account if there is this one. The girl says that now she will take him to the village of beginners to complete the adjustment of characteristics and class selection and calls him to follow her. Suddenly Kaizing hears the doorbell from the real world and realizes that his mother has returned. He shouts that he will open the door now, and in a panic rushes out of the game to take off his helmet. The girl then tells him that he has not completed the login process, so the account has not been linked yet. Next, a pop-up menu asking the player if he is sure he wants to save the current settings and exit. The guy, without reading it, presses the agreement button and emerges from the game, removing the helmet from his head and running as fast as he can to open the door while the doorbell rings. As soon as he presses the panel to open the door, the same door swings into his nose, pushing him back, and the person waiting on the other side of the door complains that the guy is too slow. Kaizing falls on his back and opening his eyes, sees a tall bully standing in his doorway, holding a smoking cigarette in his mouth. A man with a haughty smile says that he heard that Kaizing allegedly has an extra helmet and then explains that he overslept this morning and could not buy his own. Kaizing got up from the floor, rubbing his nose bruised by the door with his hand and does not understand how Zhang Liniao found out about it, assumed that Tang Hua had posted this news to a group of classmates. Next, he realizes the whole problem of the situation, because Zhang Liniao is a well-known hooligan and will definitely knock out a discount for himself. The guy gathered himself and replied to the man in the aisle that the helmet had already been reserved and apologized. But the smile did not leave the interlocutor's face and he pretended to say how sorry he was. But without asking, he went inside the apartment and headed towards Kaizing's room. Kaizing, raising his voice, asked why he came in, to which the unexpected guest accused the guy of being one of those who forgets classmates after graduation and can't you just come to visit. The guy was so worried that he began to stagger. He swayed, took steps behind the guest and asked to go talk, because there was nothing to look at in the room. But before his eyes there was already a picture of the bully to whom he lied, standing and holding that unfortunate helmet in his hands. The haughty smile became victorious and Zhang Liniao, holding a helmet in his hands, showed the frightened Kaizen that he had found. At that moment, the guy realized that it was all over for him. A male voice informs a certain woman on the phone that Kaizing is taking a bath right now. Tang Hua continues the conversation with the woman on the other side of the wire, and with a smile, and the face of a good boy, assures the woman that they will eat and not worry about anything. The woman apologizes for the trouble caused, and the guy still sweetly assures her that everything is fine and he and Kaizen have a strong male connection, just like a father and son, after which he gets hit on the back of the head from Kaizen, who came out of the shower, who snatches the phone and is indignant about what he says to his mom. Kaizing wipes her wet hair with a towel and puts the phone to her ear, continuing the conversation with her mother on her own. He says he will be back in a couple of days and ends the phone conversation, while Tang Hua rubs the back of his head, bruised by a friend. The guy looked at Kaizen, who was beaten and with bruises scattered all over his body, and noticed that he had not told what had happened to him. Kaizing was plunged into heavy thoughts about what had happened. Zhang Liniao, who broke into his apartment, mockingly did not let Kaizen take away his helmet, while the young man diligently tried to snatch the thing from the hands of the bully and assuring that he needed it. The bully mockingly calls him greedy and asks him to take the helmet for just a week, to which Kaizing shouts out to give him the helmet. Zhang Liniao makes a serious expression and throws the helmet into the guy's hands. He catches it in surprise, but the next moment the bully twists his face and rubs his fists, approaching the guy. The young man assures him as seriously as possible that it is better for him to leave in a good way, otherwise he will call the police. Zhang Liniao breaks into a nasty grin and punches the stunned Kaizen in the stomach. Kaizing wheezes in pain, but standing on his feet, hits back, demanding that he get out of his house. The bully is really angry and says that the guy managed to get him out of himself and mentions his sister, who is lying in a hospital bed. Kaizing immediately freezes in horror and is about to strike again, but his fist is grabbed in flight and they mention about his parents who are barely making ends meet. Zhang Liniao looks scarier now than before and says that apparently he doesn't know him well, since he decided to threaten the police. He leans over Kaizen and assures him that if he says just one word, his little sister's life will come to an end, and his parents will randomly die in an alley. Kaizen's mind immediately flashed back to the fact that no one dared to cross his path at school. Even teachers crawled at his feet. His hands went limp at once, and all confidence instantly disappeared. The guy lowered his head and said that Zhang Linyao could take the helmet. The bully was pleased, but saying that he had already angered him, so now he would get it, and continued to beat him. As soon as the sky turned pink, he took the helmet and left, leaving the guy exhausted from the pain lying on the floor. Kaizing waved off, stating that nothing had happened, and told Tang Hua to just score. Tang Hua abruptly grabs the guy by the shoulders and starts shaking him, shouting that he was not talking nonsense, because he ran to hide at his house without warning, and this cannot be called a situation that can be ignored. Continuing to make himself heard by shouting, the guy said that if he did not want to tell him about what happened, it turns out that he does not consider him his brother. Kaizing, unwilling to answer, looked away and quietly said that it was all because of Zhang Linyao. Tang Hua immediately became nervous and asked what the guy could have done to run into this person. He asked with immeasurable sarcasm how he himself thought. Angrily clasping his friend's neck, putting his hand on his shoulder, he said, "They say it's not his fault that someone decided to help him resell the remaining helmet, and accidentally sent a message about it to the chat where the aforementioned Zhang Linyao was." Tang Hua started up, crying out that it was his fault. Kaizing did not calm down, continued that he had been beaten, stolen a helmet that had a super lucky account on it, and asked if Tang Hua had any idea how much he could even be worth, with a distraught expression on his face. Tang Hua realized his guilt and fell at his feet, begging for forgiveness. The young man quickly came to his senses and said that he was joking, because in fact it was his fault that he did not hide the helmet when he went to open the door for him, but he must definitely find a way to get it back. He asked if Tang Hua knew anything about him. The guy quickly got up and screamed, waving his hands, that he'd better calm down, because it's just a gaming helmet and it's not worth chasing after him. Tang Hua tells about his old man, who earns several million a year, but even he prefers not to open his mouth in the presence of Zhang Linyao's father, so as not to accidentally run into trouble. Kaizing joked with a serious face, saying that his old man's breath stinks. Tang Hua immediately exploded and shouted that he just wanted to say that he was a very dangerous person. Kaizing replied that he couldn't just leave it like that, and that maybe the helmet was his only chance. The voice of the operator from the support service of the ancient gods was heard from the handset, and was interested in how they could help. The guy began to explain to the operator the current situation with the loss of the account and helmet, while Tang Hua listened to the dialogue, anxiously sitting in the back. The operator politely indicated that they understood everything, but in games of this kind, a protection model was provided with a helmet tied to the player directly. That is, entry was possible only with the help of the iris of the main user. However, their company decided to remove this restriction from 10,000 helmets of the first batch in order to conduct an experiment with the possibility of connecting a player to an account via any other device. They say, all for your convenience. Kaizing asked with displeasure what he was proud of when his account was stolen. The operator apologized and confirmed that they could not return the account directly to him, because he was tied to the helmet. It was assumed that such technology would bring players only convenience, and no one expected that such problems could arise. They continued that they could give him an account certificate and help him contact the local police to fight the crime. Kaizing hung up the phone in frustration, after which Tang Hua made him laugh to console him and offered to just buy this helmet, saying that he could pay. But the guy objected that it was okay, because he was the god of 7 stars, and in order to play well, he did not need a cool account. Having said that, he put on his friend's helmet and lay down on the bed, immersing himself in the game. Tang Hua looked at him and decided that he urgently needed to help him, called customer service and shouted into the phone that he urgently needed his helmet. Meanwhile, Kaizing was already opening his eyes in the initial menu, where he was met by his very personal assistant, which surprised him, to which she explained that she was a reward that was forever tied to him, but since he was now connected from another IP, so she could no longer change her appearance. Having finished this, the idle girl turned into a small white ball. Kaizing apologized and told her that his helmet had been stolen, and also asked if he could play on his previous account. The assistant replied that the account and the helmet were connected, and the guy asked her not to continue, saying he understood everything and said he would create a new character. Sharik noticed that, as mentioned earlier, users with a super lucky account cannot create a human race character. The guy clarified that there are other races, to which the ball responds positively and says that there are thousands of races to choose from. Many varieties of animals and various mammals appeared in front of Kaizing. The guy thought that the bear or gorilla races should be stronger than a human and asked to remove races with a value of less than 20 points. The assistant confirmed that the number of races suitable for this condition is 0. The guy was terribly shocked and asked to show races with a value of 15 points. The answer was still the same. Absolutely none were found. Kaizing irritably remarked that even if the value is low, you can play for a race with a special specialty. For example, turtles that are good at defense. The flying ball cut off the flow of thoughts, saying that there were no races with special skills left. The desperate Kaizing fell to his knees, not wanting to realize the deplorability of his situation. They say it can't be that there are no features at all. The ball hesitated and began to load something. Lit up, Kaizing stared with hope. Processing. The personal assistant finds one race that fits the condition race with a feature. It was a small purple-colored jellyfish with an illuminated symbol on the cap. Kaizing immediately cheered up, rejoicing that all was not lost. If she has a special skill, then he is ready to create a character. As is customary, confirmation that he wants to perform this action and create a character. Kaizing thought that it doesn't matter if the character is a jellyfish, the main thing is that it is a marine inhabitant. While in the early stages of the game all players will swing on land. Competing for resources, he will be able to take the first step towards conquering the ocean, and will develop faster than others. The character has been successfully created. The game is logged in. Kaizing opens his eyes and finds no water nearby. On the contrary, he is carried in the beak of a seagull, away from the sea. After a series of unfortunate events, Kaizing, in his new guise of a jellyfish, found himself in heaven. Complaining about his plight, the guy voiced the command to open the status window, immediately starting to complain. The avatar is strange, the characteristics are low, only one skill is unknown. Abruptly, a white helper ball appears nearby and greeting the player is going to explain what to do next. The first step is to give your character a name. Kaizing specified where and entered 7 stars. There is a short pause and the guy asks what he should do next. The assistant replies that there is no second step, to which the player desperately blurts out that there should be a starting class, performance points, starting equipment or just a guide on how to get to the starting village. Sharik replies with a smile that all this was on his last account, but there is nothing on this one and he is too far from the starting village. If he wants to get a guide, then he must return. Kaizing voiced that it could not be worse and slapped a tentacle on what could be called a face. Finally, the ball mentioned that sunlight causes damage to it, so health will decrease. Kaizing looked at his health points in horror and quickly changed his position, wrapping his tentacles around the seagull's neck and moving himself into the shadow of the bird. All rejoicing in the process that he was not human and this body was capable of performing such pirouettes. The bird began to turn off, again scorching the jellyfish with sunlight, because of which the guy began to shout that his patience had burst and he would kill her and erase the remains into powder. But he came to his senses when he saw that it was better to wait until they flew further. The ocean is not a starting location and it still has 2 low characteristics for it. If he is killed there is a chance that he will not resurrect in the starting village. Kaizing decided that first he needed to get to a low-level location, and then think about what to do next. They flew through the sea, in whose depths many creepy and powerful creatures probably live, and were already flying up to the forest. In a dense forest, the sun will not cause damage to it, but you need to be careful not to crash. He decided it was time to try out an unknown skill. The seagull screeched and began to fly in circles, after which Kaizing noticed that his health scale had recovered a little. He realized that this special skill is parasitism, a skill that sucks the health of others. Congratulations on the discovery of a new skill surfaced, Skill Mastery +1. Current skill level 1. The following is a description of this skill. Deals damage depending on his health level for 20 seconds. Restores a little health. If at the end of the skill the health has dropped to 0, then parasitism is involved. Kaizing was incredibly happy with this news. He finally got lucky again. No matter how strong the opponent is, over time he will become his puppet. The mind was transferred to another body. Now he saw the world through the eyes of a seagull. Parasitism succeeded. But it was not there. He gets carried away and he realizes in a timely manner that he will have to learn to control this body in order to fully use it. He flew swiftly towards the ground. An award was received, the title of Pioneer. He received a Trailblazer quest, a book of unknown skill, unknown equipment and 1,000 gold. Congratulations appear. He became the first player to leave the novice village on his server. Meanwhile, on Kaizing's last account, Zhang Liniao, who stole his helmet, got used to it very well, having already equipped all the awards received by the previous owner. And the blade, which is a developing artifact, fully uses the skill master of weapons and it is not difficult for him to overcome the fiery poisonous ants of the 5th level, which at the initial stage are a good experience. With a bunch of such ants that attacked him at the same time, he copes in one swing with the basic technique of wielding a blade. The spotted spider of the 6th level also dies with one blow. Red-eyed black-haired boars of the 8th level also do not become a hindrance to him. The unholy dryads of the 9th level are literally nothing to him. Even the boss of this location, the demonic sea bull, does not pose a threat at all. After receiving another pack of high-class awards, Zhang Liniao concluded with a smug grin that Kai Xing's account was just right for him. But this face and body were ugly. Suddenly, he notices a glowing object above the stricken boss, which promptly landed at his feet. It was a divine artifact, the helmet of an anonymous commander. The helmet looked like an animal's skull with 2 not very long horns, one of which was broken off, and the helmet itself had slits for eyes. The rest of the face would be covered in it. Also among the skill of this helmet was incognito, which, if desired, could hide all information about the character. Zhang Lingyao, still with the same mockery, was glad that now he would be able to hide this ugly face. Passing further around the world, he reached the village of Qingxi, where everyone was pumping their game heroes hard. Someone was looking for people to join a group, and someone, calling himself a warrior with high characteristics, was looking for only cute girls in his group, asking the ladders to go by. What then? The girl snapped at him, saying that it is impossible to create a character with a gender different from your real one, and assured that a real girl, and she should be allowed into the group. Somewhere nearby, a group of players could not overcome an ordinary scarecrow of the 3rd level. Someone was performing tasks in which it was necessary to catch all the rabbits. Someone was running in panic from mobs and shouting how to change his class, because he could not fight monsters without skills. Some stern-looking man shouted to his companions that this game was too hardcore. Suddenly, a pretty girl runs up to Zhang Liniao passing along the village and begs him to help her with monsters. The guy very willingly agrees to help a lonely lady, as the second one immediately runs up and asks to help her too. As a result, his character was surrounded by cute girls asking for help, and Zhang Liniao instantly changed his mind, enthusiastically thinking that Kai Xing's body is fine. At this time, Kai Xing himself, for the Jellyfish character, in a panic, begged the fiery poisonous ants not to eat him, cursing Zhang Liniao who robbed him. The seagull had already died while the poisonous ants were crawling on it, and Kai Xing shouted that the parasite skill stopped working as soon as he disconnected from the bird. He, as quickly as possible with all his tentacles legs, rushed away from the monsters, who also did not want to lag behind him as much as he wanted to escape from them. The fight against the fiery poisonous ants continues. The ant painfully bites one of the tentacles of the Kai Xing jellyfish. He writhes and the tentacle comes off, which causes the jellyfish to fly away. Kai Xing decides that it is his turn to attack. He is going to hit the monster in a weak spot, confident that he will certainly not be able to cope with this. With a battle cry, the jellyfish swings one of its tentacles at the enemy, hitting him, but the inscription attack is ineffective comes out. The guy does not give up and begins to convulsively beat the opponent, under the constant pop-up of these inscriptions, from which even the ant was shocked. The frustrated guy screamed that he would not be able to play if he could not even break through the defense of this enemy. Since the usual attacks don't work, he decided to try another way. He uses parasitism on the ant, but the ant is really angry and throws Kai Xing over himself like a ball, trying to throw off the parasite. The guy replays the meaning of this ability in his head again. During parasitism, his health should be restored, and he can also take over the body of the creature he is inside. In addition, it is possible that the fiery poisonous ant ignores the protection, and you need to try using parasitism again to make sure for sure. An inscription pops up that the opponent's resistance is too great and parasitism failed. The ant easily breaks out of the purple tentacles. Kai Xing, incredibly close to defeat, screams and the effect of poisoning is superimposed on his character, and the level of health is critically low. Kai Xing thought that this was to be expected. Apparently his characteristics are not enough, despite such a strong skill. Consciousness begins to leave him, and finally he thinks that he is no longer of any use, because he will die soon and it is not even known where he can be reborn. Several dead ants come across his eyes and realization comes to him. He was able to parasitize a seagull without any problems, because she was an ordinary animal, and it didn't work on ants, because they are monsters and their characteristics are much higher than his characters. But what if you parasitize a dead creature? After all, some types of fungi are able to control the dead bodies of those on whom they parasitize. For example, cordyceps or pestilomyces. He realized the way in which his weak body would be able to survive. He stretches out a tentacle to the ant that has lived and realizes with admiration that the parasitism has succeeded. An ant, with whom they had recently fought, came up to him and Kaizing was worried, because even though the parasitism was successful, it could still be revealed. A live ant moved its antennae in his direction and took a rather threatening pose with his mouth open. The guy had already decided that he was finished. But when he opened his eyes, he saw that a colony of the same ants was dragging him into the anthill, apparently mistaking him for a dead comrade. The disguise was definitely a success. Kaizing could finally exhale. He was finally safe for a long time, and no one tried to kill him. But it was not there. An inscription pops up that he entered the dungeon of the final boss. Congratulations also came to him that he was the first on the server who entered this dungeon, and he received a reward in the form of a quest dagger. Kaizing is horrified to notice that he hasn't even looked at the past awards yet. And what should he do at the boss when he couldn't even kill ordinary mobs yet? Sarcastically said that apparently he would have to ram the boss with his head to death. The colony of ants brings the jellyfish Kaizing into its anthill, where, as Kaizing himself noticed, there was absolutely no lighting, which was expected in a nest of low-level monsters. Kaizing utters a command to open the inventory, where he notices a good reward of 1,000 gold. After which he badly notices that the price of 2 helmets is 19,000 and he hopes that his mother will not find out how much money he spent, and Tang Hua should be silent. After inquiring about other awards, he opened the characteristics window. The title Discoverer, which gives the skill Heart of the Brave, an ability that gives a chance to be resurrected once a day. He gets the Gluttony skill, which allows him to absorb the skills of other players to gain experience points. He also received the Divine Artifact Wanderer Evasion, which allows him to teleport to a place he has already visited 3 times a day. Kaizing reveled in his wonderful rewards, after which he looked at the failed quests, but immediately closed them, not wanting to read such a large amount of text. He decided to try activating the Gluttony skill. Clicking on the button, a vile smoke-like entity appeared in front of him with huge eyes on the sides. She got close to his head, in which a hole appeared pouring blue light, through which the creature took out the skill Parasitism, and was about to eat it, gaping its mouth strewn with sharp teeth, while Kaizing tried to stop her, but noticed another ability nearby, immediately guessing that it was the skill of an ant on which he now it's parasitic. The skill is called Spitting Fire Poison. He immediately commanded Gluttony to swallow this skill, so parasitism was saved. Kaizing let out a sigh of relief. His level has risen to the 2nd. If the skills of those on whom he parasitizes can be absorbed, then he will raise the level even faster. Inspired by this thought, he decided without hesitation to attack the live ant again. But the attack was still ineffective, and the ant only looked back at his comrade in bewilderment. He may not be able to break through their defenses yet, but if they wait a little and soon, he is sure they will call him master. By that time, the ant swarm had already carried the parasite to its hiding place, where the bodies of the dead ants and the first level larvae were located. Kaizing disconnects from the past body and, admiring himself, quickly takes away all the skills of the fiery poisonous spit from the other bodies nearby with the help of Gluttony, naming himself the King of Parasitism. Experience is gradually gaining and now he has the 3rd level. Kaizing wearily notices that if he absorbs the same skill, he will get less and less experience. He hits the larva next to him, who looks at him in fright, not understanding what has just happened. Then he uses Parasitism, and the larva is instantly defeated. And Kaizing complains with a grin about what low-level monsters are weak and fragile, completely forgetting that he was exactly the same recently. Suddenly he notices that something has fallen out to him. It turned out to be white aphid honey grown by fire ants, which is food for the ant queen. 1 drop of it restores 50% of health. Kaizing admires the find, then notices the other larvae and does the same with them. He gets 30 pieces of white aphid honey. Remembering that the queen of ants is the boss here, he confidently declares that he will definitely have the strength to resist her. In the very depths of the anthill, in complete darkness, the ant finds the same ball of white aphid honey, which illuminates a little around. He touches it with his paw, as if from somewhere out of the darkness a paw many times larger than himself grabs him. A dark something squeezes an ant in its clawed paw, and the next moment a crunching sound is heard from the darkness. Kaizing straddled another ant's body with his parasitism, and enthusiastically rushed to the queen, who was probably at the very bottom. After making a short pause, the guy decided that while he was here and disguised, it might be worth collecting more white aphid honey so that he could sell it and earn extra money. In the early stages of the game, this is a very useful resource. This is one of the many ways to make money, and at the same time, he will even enjoy it. Kaizing cancels parasitism and detaches from the ant. The ants around, carrying honey to the queen, all at once look at the intruder, who lands very effectively with his small feet on the ground. The ants all at once start attacking him, spitting their fiery poison. Medusa easily dodges, jumping aside, and declares that he has little HP. But it doesn't matter if they can't hit him anyway, because he can easily predict their actions. And if suddenly he does not have enough damage, then you just need to hit the weak spot. The enemy is instantly divided into two, then the next and the next after him. Kaizing has a smug smile on his face. The thought is burning in the guy's head that even if he had the body of an ant, he would have defied God even in that case. Enemies are destroyed one by one under the attacks of small purple tentacles. He has to show everyone what he is capable of. He has to do the impossible. He must challenge this world and make everyone look only at him. After all, there is something that only he is capable of, and he will prove it in this game. Kaizing mentally motivates himself, saying that his sister will definitely wake up, and he will fix everything. The player was rapidly raising level after level. The 5th, why the 6th, the 7th, and finally all the opponents in this area were defeated. The guy rubbed his forehead tiredly and sighed, confident that he probably had a lot of loot and would have to look at it. With admiration, he discovers a reward in the form of a soldier ant breastplate, and immediately puts it on his character. He also immediately puts on the helmet of the ant soldier, as well as greaves and boots of the ant soldier, which give a plus to speed, an excellent catch. He also looks at how much money fell out, only 50 gold and no more honey. He probably killed an aphid, what a pity. Here he turns his attention to his character, and discovers that the armor was not equipped, apparently because of race. A pop-up congratulation that he created an advanced blue combo with a knife, and the attack was increased by 20%. And the damage of each attack in the combo increased by 5%. He was asked to name his combo. Kaizing notices that this is the combo he used to kill monsters, but this, in his opinion, is a common combination that he used in other games. He gives the name to his combo: a blow to the head, a stab to the heart, a blow to the stomach, cutting off the tail, and tells Gluttony to absorb this skill. The guy immediately notes that he does not need special skills, because you can't drink your skill. He takes a new weapon in his tentacles and moves deeper into the tunnel, continuing to clean up the subsequent locations without any difficulty. He opened all new combinations, but now with a blue knife, heartbreaking blade, diving evil strike, each of which has been increased in damage by 20%. Blow after blow, new skills and combinations opened up one after another. He even became lazy at some point to come up with new names for these skills, and he called the following skill: first knife, second knife, third knife, fourth, fifth, 56th knife. He gives the Gluttony the command to absorb all these skills. Kaizing reaches the 10th level and is asked to leave the novice village and go to the main city for a class change. He has reached the maximum level at the moment. After changing the class, he will be able to continue to level up. Tang Huel was sitting at the computer and watching the news. Suddenly his face changed, his eyebrows went up and the veins in his neck tightened. He was startled and discouraged by something. Tang Hua immediately called Kaizing to show him something on the computer. Approaching the screen, Kaizing saw a girl of incredible beauty, whom he had known for a long time. His face suddenly became serious. She was a famous idol singer Lai Xiao Man, a blue-eyed, golden-haired girl with a beautiful figure. Her legs were thin and long, her skin was snow white, and an angelic smile shone on her face. Lai Xiao looked like a fairy from a fairy tale. It was written in the news that Lai Xiao Man would continue his stage activities in the game Ancient Gods. She will also train with the one who will top the list of the strongest players on the second day since the opening of the game servers. In the first place was I Am the Most Beautiful Man. In second place was Blinding Sun. In third place was Piracy. On the fourth was Conquering the World with Cats. On the fifth was the Swarovski Husky, and the girl under the nickname Moon Wanderer closed the podium of the best. Tang Hua was very surprised that the girl gave up her career as an idol singer, in which she had a huge success. Not only he, but also everyone who watches the game or is a participant in it, wonders how much the developers had to pay for Lai Xiao to quit her career. But Kaizing thinks otherwise, because she could give up everything and devote herself to the game, and it could be a conscious decision of the girl. Old memories flash through Kaizing's mind. He remembers how he once played with Lai Xiao, and then she secretly told him who she really is in the real world. After all, usually players always hide their true identity. He remembers that he was once her supervisor, helped her to rise to the maximum level and get equipment. But Kaizing immediately tried to put the girl out of his mind, because now they are on completely different levels with her, and in fact they are not related to each other. What did he care about her career? The main thing is to raise the level yourself first and save your sister. Tang Hua's interest, in turn, did not fade. He asked Kaizing not to compare him with himself because he was going to get to the truth. Tang Hua began to reason out loud. He understood that for Lai Xiao, the game could be a good opportunity to improve his career and increase the number of fans, because now the game is a walking hit that is very popular. The guy even thinks about creating his own virtual company in the ancient gods. All this time, Tang Hua did not look at Kaizing. But when Tang Hua turned around, he saw that his friend was clutching at the computer and looking at the screen threateningly. Kaizing was furious. He started shouting at the whole apartment because Zhang Liniao not only stole his account, but also dared to dye the character's hair. How could he be more beautiful than him? What nonsense. Tang Hua was so confused that he just stood discouraged, as if rooted to the ground, and did not know what to say to his friend and how to calm him down. Kaizing played all day without stopping for a second. Of course, Tang Huang wondered how much he had raised the level. He immediately looked at the list and was surprised, because Kaizing was still not on the lists. Tang Hua was worried, but the culprit of Tang Hua's anxiety was calm as a boa constrictor. He was sitting at a table with a computer and eating noodles with both cheeks. Kaizing answered his friend's questions only that there was no point in rushing, because first the main thing was to understand the mechanics of the game. He was sure that he would soon figure out and understand the principle of the game, in the near future beating all the people in the list of the best players. Tang Hua, however, advised his friend not to be so self-confident, because while Kaizing was playing, he was looking for information and finding out about the best players. It was said on the internet that the account that Liniao stole was the only account on the server that had 99. And the value of Liniao's character's race was quite high, 48 points. In the ranking, he was the second and was called the Blinding Sun. It was a blue-haired guy with a sly, mysterious smile. The guy's face itself was not visible, because he was hiding it behind a mask. The aura was blue. In the first place was a brunette of about 40. He had a kind smile on his face, like a saint, and his aura was golden. He got a hidden class. His ability was that he could control a level 100 angel. So it immediately became clear that the leader of the best list had a fairly high self-esteem, because his nickname is called I am the most beautiful man in the world. Piracy was in third place. He had snow-white hair and dark skin. The guy's face was stern and seemed even a little threatening. His aura was cinnamon-colored, and his hand could turn to stone. Tang Hua knows perfectly well that Pirosai is a legendary player, although he has not played the same games as Kaizing before. Piracy is the only one of all who completed a branch of quests that allowed his race to evolve. But so far he has been able to upgrade his class only once. Tang Hua also learned that there are strong players on all accounts who, with their strength, were still quite lucky and lucky. Tang Hua could still go on talking about strong players for quite a long time, because he had found out everything about them. But Sai King grumpily, with irritation, began to reply to his friend that he had already understood everything. It was unpleasant for him to admit his own weakness. Tang Hua knew that his friend would react this way, so he immediately tried to change the subject. But Xing King had no idea that Tang Hua was actually trying to catch him. At the instruction of the guy, Zai King began to read the comments. From the first message, everyone remembered him. No matter what game Zai King played, he was always the best of all. Of course, it really pissed off all the players, because he took all the rewards, quests, and equipment. In one game, because of Kaizing, the developers renamed the boss from the Black Flame Dragon to the Sad Dragon, so quickly he defeated him. Due to the rapid passage of the dragon, the boss's stats rose, but this only provoked Zai King even more. There was also a lot of gossip in the comments. One of the most common rumors was that Zai King allegedly arranged a harem for himself in every game, and then pursued girls in real life. In short, everyone wanted to unite against Zai King so that he would not capture the ancient gods as well. After reading all these comments, Xing King was angry, and Tang Hua was rolling with laughter, watching his reaction. The guy immediately started typing an angry reply, not paying any attention to Tang Huang. Xing King shouted that they were all liars and scum, lying without blushing. Tang Hua replied sarcastically that his friend was always right, that he was a real D'Artagnan. Laughing heartily, Tang Hua decided to tell Kaizing that he had also dug up information about the game world. He began his story with the fact that there are 32 quests for beginners in Kingxi Village, but they almost do not give experience, because it was very difficult to kill a monster alone in this place. Usually, due to this level of difficulty, players are grouped in groups of about 3. The loot from monsters almost does not fall out, so even an ordinary white sword it costs 50 real yuan. and if the sword has at least some bonuses to the characteristics, then the price only increases to 4-digit numbers. Also, equipment, skills and skill books come in various rarities: ordinary, advanced, rare and divine. Summing up, we can safely say that the game is quite complicated and requires a lot of investment. And in the end, Tang Hua added that Lin Yao's freak is damn lucky, because he already has 2 divine ones. It was clear from Tang Hua's face that he was very angry about this, because Lin Yao is a scumbag, but at the same time he is very lucky, and all because he stole Zai King's account. But for some reason, Zai King didn't care about Lin Yao's success. He was very much interested and amazed that the usual equipment cost 50 yuan. Ta Hua immediately asked why Zai King was so interested. Does he have a lot of this equipment? It turned out that yes. After all, Zai King cut out an entire anthill. The guy immediately began to calculate how much he earned. It turned out that quite a lot. Zai King even drooled. He was so happy. Tang Hua was very happy for his friend, because he had his own zone for improvement. But then Zai King realized that he had left everything in the dungeon, because he had not known before that the equipment cost so much. He only collected white honey, which could restore health. Tang Hua was instantly inspired and immediately began pushing his friend into the room so that he would quickly take his loot. Such a chance could not be missed in any case, because otherwise other players or monsters could take it. Leaving the room, Xing King took one last look at the computer screen. Wei Zio was on it. She stood happily among the other players who surrounded her and looked at the girl without taking their eyes off. Zai King went down to the dungeon and happily began to collect loot. He counted more than 30 pieces of equipment, among which were the Ant Soldier sword, the Ant Soldier helmet and Ant Soldier knives. In the end, he collected more than 50 items. Now Zai King was richer than ever before, because he even had ready-made sets of armor. He put everything in a bag and began to think about how he could earn even more money. In the end, Zai King decided to go to the Ant Queen, because he was sure that she probably had a cool loot. At least he was hoping for at least a purple item. So, in high spirits, he strode into the queen's lair, singing a song aloud. But it wasn't as Zai King expected. The guy stopped at the entrance to the monster's lair and was terrified. He never expected that the Ant Queen would be so huge. Are there such monsters near the village of beginners? Kaizing hid behind a nearby rock. Cold sweat trickled down his body from fear. Kaizing even held his breath so that the Spider Queen wouldn't find him. He thought she hadn't noticed him yet. While he had time, he decided to analyze the status of the queen. It turned out that she had an incredibly high intelligence. Kaizing was amazed and angry. How could the developers put such a strong boss near the village? Because players leave the village of beginners only at level 10. But suddenly Kaizing relaxed and stopped being angry. He thought about it and realized that this way he likes the game even more, because now he is sure that there is something rare, unusual here. The game hooked him. Kaizing began to prepare for battle. He looked at his status, checked that everything was in order. Then he noticed an ant that was trying to steal his honey. Kaizing quickly defeated him and took back the honey. For him, this fight was something like a warm-up before a real battle. He took a sword in one hand and honey in the other, and with a cry of "Let's start the fight," he rushed at the Ant Queen. But she didn't even notice him at first, just continued to stare at one point. Kaizing hit the queen on the head and face with all his might. But the blow did not affect her. She just pushed him away with her huge strong paw. Kaizing's health began to drop, but he immediately ate honey, thereby restoring his health, and rushed to attack again. The queen opened her mouth and tried to eat Kaizing, but he dodged the bite and hit her on the jaw. But this blow, as well as the first one, did not cause any damage. Then Kaizing hit the queen in the eye, and then her health dropped. He had finally found her weak spot. Now it will burst like a balloon. He struck again at the same spot, but his attack was deflected. The queen used magic and deflected his blow. Kaizing fell to the ground and did not have time to hide. The queen stunned him with her roar. He tried to get up, but it didn't work out. His body wouldn't listen to him. But Kaizing couldn't die here. Something had to be done. But how to make the body move? Suddenly he saw an ant that he had killed before the fight with the queen. He immediately had an idea. He used his parasitism ability on the ant and, taking control of its body, was able to dodge the queen's blow. Kaizing understood that the queen was very strong, because the difference was 40 levels. But he wasn't going to give up, because he understood what the creator of this boss was up to. Kaizing was able to figure out a way to defeat the Ant Queen. Now he definitely won't lose. The Ant Queen's status stated that she had high health, high strength, low stamina and agility, and despite her high intelligence, only one magic skill protects her lower body. If you gather a group of players who have not yet changed classes, you will need 5 people, and maybe even 10. Only then will there be a chance to defeat her. The Ant Queen is a regular boss for beginners who have started playing. That's what Kaizing thought. At first glance, she has no weak points, but the guy has a hunch, and if it turns out to be true, then Kaizing will win. He reasoned like this: the boss is a queen who breeds fire ants, so her primary goal is nutrition, and she will definitely be distracted by food. Kaizing took out honey, of which he had a lot, and continued the fight. He threw honey at the queen, and she was immediately distracted by him. He was right. Kaizing was able to hit the queen and lower her health, but she immediately hit him back. But the guy managed to react quickly. He ate honey to restore his health, but did not rush into battle. After all, if he continues to fight like this, the honey will quickly run out, and he will lose. We need another plan. Kaizing decided to drag the bodies of the ants and use his parasitism power. With the help of these bodies, he will be able to dodge the queen's blow and not waste honey. The guy charged again. He hit the queen in the eye, in her weak spot. After that, Kaizing immediately used his parasitism ability and jumped aside. Finally, he managed to dodge the boss's punch. Following his new tactics, the guy slowly but surely lowered the health of the Ant Queen. His strategy was that he puts bait on one body and escapes to the second with the help of parasitism. When the queen almost reaches the bait, Kaizing shifts the honey to another body, preventing her from eating it. While two bodies are lying on the battlefield, and the queen is in front of them, then a triangle turns out, and she is constantly distracted, then to one, then to another body. So Kaizing manages to deal damage and not waste a single piece of honey. Sooner or later he will win. Kaizing called this way of fighting the Triangle of 7 Stars. The last blow that decided the outcome of the battle was the Blade of the 7 Stars. With his help, the guy cut off the head of the Ant Queen and won. Kaizing was credited with plus 400% of experience for completing the dungeon alone. He also received the title Miracle Worker, with which he could cancel the effect of a random event every 24 days, received a level 600 pet egg, which was called the Mutated Queen of Fire Ants, and had the opportunity to improve his skills. Thus ended Kaizing's fight with the boss of the Fire Ants. The first battle was successful. Kaizing was very tired, because the fight was not easy, but he was very happy because he was able to upgrade his skills. But then he realized that the pumping was quite small. The guy got angry. Why is it possible to pump only one thing for the victory of such a boss? The current rarity of parasitism is common. Kaizing can upgrade this ability to legendary, but he also wants to improve gluttony. What should he choose? But then Kaizing remembered that he also has the ability of a miracle worker. If he does not like the pumping of parasitism, then he can remove the changes and get a second chance, other improvements. First, he decided to choose a transformation for parasitism. It mutated into latent parasitism. This meant that when Kaizing used parasitism, he would become invisible. Also, this improvement allows you to safely use parasitism. Kaizing was very angry. This is a completely useless mutation. He thought there would definitely be no such bullshit. The guy immediately activated the Miracle Worker. Parasitism mutated into symbiosis. This meant that if the will of the target was broken, then Kaizing could parasitize the victim's body and take control of it. Also, Kaizing will now deal damage equal to its own HP value for 20 seconds and now has a certain healing effect. After the end of the skill, if the opponent's HP value returns to 0, parasitism is triggered. The guy was very pleased, because parasitism only works for those who have less health than the owner of this ability or for the dead. But now, with the help of symbiosis, you can control targets weakened by debuff. Kaizing was happy, because now he had a good pumping. Now the guy decided to look at the loot, and this time his luck did not let him down. He got a divine artifact. Kaizing had a real holiday, but suddenly something went wrong. There were no weapons. Instead, there were only glowing balls, and all the other loots were exactly the same. All the items lost their properties. Kaizing froze. He didn't understand what was going on, but when it dawned on him, he immediately began to scream, and cold sweat began to roll down his body. Then came, so to speak, the stage of acceptance. The guy realized that all the artifacts had disappeared and began to cry, because he tried so hard. But Kaizing was able to gather his strength and turn to the help service. He began to explain to the girl who worked in the help service that he had definitely seen the light of a divine artifact. If she doesn't believe him, she can watch the game recording. The girl started to look. She said that of the 8 items, the most valuable is the rare item, the Fang of Hope of the Ant Tribe, as well. The brunette continued to check the loot, but suddenly Kaizing stopped her. The guy immediately noticed that for some reason he had 9 items, not 8. He realized that this was a bug of the game. But how so? The game is completely new. But Kaizing did not hurriedly tell the girl about it and asked her to continue. The brunette now also realized that there was a bug in the game. She told Kaizing that the video clearly shows the effects of the legendary artifact falling out. The girl also said that maybe this is really a bug of the game. She apologized for the inconvenience and said that she would ask Kaizing to be given a divine artifact suitable for his level. But the guy came up with something very profitable for himself. First he asked about the ancient gods, whether it has been working for 3 days or not. The girl immediately answered in the affirmative and said that Kaizing is their precious player who has been playing since the very launch of the game. He has also played for about 60 hours. Kaizing continued to ask questions. Then he asked if it was true that his first account linked to the device was lost, and now he can't get it back. The girl was confused. Stammering, she answered in the affirmative, but she was warned about such persistent players, she had to get on such a one. Kaizing has already gone all out. He was already openly mocking the girl. He decided to manipulate the girl. The guy started saying that 3 days after the launch of the game, he found such a serious bug. Something has to be done about it, otherwise he will post this video on the forum. And what happens next with the game does not concern him. Immediately, instead of a brunette, a girl with blue hair appeared on the screen. She introduced herself as the director of the game's bug-fixing department and said she was here to discuss compensation. In the end, she, too, like the previous girl, apologized for the inconvenience. Kaizing was very pleased. He has achieved his goal. His goal was not to use divine weapons, but to improve skills. It was them that he asked for compensation, asked for a second reward for defeating the boss. After all, a divine artifact will not give him such an opportunity as leveling skills. Now he had a symbiosis of the legendary level. This meant that if the will of the target was broken, then Kaizing could parasitize the victim's body and take control of it. And also the body on which he will parasitize will receive the same amount of experience as the owner of the ability symbiosis. Gluttony has also become legendary. This meant that now the skills absorbed by gluttony could continue to be used. And the growth of gluttony was also activated. Kaizing was a little shocked. It turns out there is something above the legendary. It turns out that Tang Hua gave him false information. Now he went back to look at the loot. He wondered if it was true that the legendary weapon had disappeared. Now Kaizing has received the Ant Tribe Hope Fang, Ant Tribe Hope Cloak, Ant Tribe Hope Helmet, Ant Tribe Hope Breastplate, and Ant Queen Crystal Core of high quality. And Kaizing also received 2006 money, Ant Soldier's Sword, Ant Soldier's Helmet, Ant Soldier's Greaves, and some weapons were unknown. The guy thought about it. Is this really the legendary weapon? It looked like a hand bone. All the characteristics were unknown. Kaizing immediately realized that it was a hand. He began to wonder what it was. Could it be some kind of strange divine artifact? The guy tried to hit the soldier ant, who was already dead, but it didn't do any damage. After his failure to figure out what it was, he decided to find an artifact appraiser. Kaizing went to Tang Huang because he usually understood this, or rather, he knew where to look for an appraiser. The guy was sure that his friend had not changed his nickname. Tang Hua did not take long to wait, answered quickly. The video link turned on, but Tang Hua did not see his friend. Then he asked why it was so dark at Kaizing. Kaizing replied that he was in a dungeon and had just killed a level 50 boss. He wanted to brag about his victory. Tang Hua was very happy for his friend. The guy immediately started shouting that he knew Kaizing hadn't lost his grip. He's even better than one of the strongest. The blinding sun barely brought down a level 30 demonic bull. Suddenly, Tang Huang had a wonderful idea. He asked Kaizing if he had a video of his fight. Then Tang Hua would have been able to make him a promotional video. They say 7 stars got to the ancient gods. But Kaizing immediately refused this offer. After all, if his enemies find out what he is counting now, they will definitely tear him to pieces, and he has a lot of enemies. Kaizing decided to return to his original goal, to ask a friend for the coordinates of the appraiser. And he also asked to send him information about the class change. Tang Hua replied that he only needed 10 minutes and he would do everything. Suddenly, Kaizing told his friend to stop because there was something behind him. Tang Hua was at a loss. Behind him was only a huge stone with one tree. Kaizing told his friend to turn around to face the stone. Tang Hua listened to him and did everything as he said. Then Kaizing told him to go straight and not turn anywhere. Tang Hua still didn't understand what his friend could have seen. He asked Kaizing about what was there, but his friend did not answer him. He just told me where to go. Suddenly Kaizing told him to stop, lower his head lower and not move. On the screen, Kaizing had 2 bumps that looked like a woman's breasts. That's what she was. Tang Hua abruptly raised his head and saw the girl whose breasts he was examining. The elf girl with green hair flushed with embarrassment and the insolence of a guy she didn't know who was staring at her breasts. After that, the connection was cut off and the last thing Kai Xing heard was Tang Wang's scream. It looks like the girl beat him. Kai Xing laughed heartily and went to identify his artifact. And the guy needed to change the class already. Then he suddenly stopped. Kaiser remembered that he had received some kind of quest before the dungeon. Since he is the first player to find the dungeon of the final boss of Qingxi village, he was given the quest The Story of a Boy. For this, he received the quest item Boy's Dagger. Kai Xing went into the inventory, took out the boy's dagger and began to look at its characteristics. The progress of this weapon was at 0. The description said that the village headman knows something about this artifact, and that you need to go to him. The headman will give you what you need. There was also a hint next to the description. It said that the player had received this weapon. Kai Xing thought about it. Before entering the dungeon, he received this quest dagger and after that had to go to the headman. But he stayed and cleaned up the dungeon. Maybe his decision could affect the plot of the quest. But then Kai Xing thought, usually, after all, there are several branches of the plot in such quests. So, thinking, Kai Xing walked to the exit of the dungeon. Unfortunately, he didn't notice that the same boy from the quest was already chasing him. But then Kai Xing suddenly felt someone's presence behind him. But it was too late. The guy tried to attack, but did not have time. The boy killed him, took the dagger and left. After dying, Kai Xing realized that this was how he got into the second storyline. But fortunately, he had a heart of courage. With this ability, the guy was able to resurrect himself and at the same time completely restore his health. So, Kai Xing completed half of the quest The Boy's Story. The description of the quest was displayed on the scoreboard. It asked if someone could save the boy now. And in the hint it was written that you need to go to his master because he might know something. The location of the master was immediately highlighted on the rink. The first branch of the quest was that the player should not enter the dungeon, goes to the headman. In the third branch, the player enters the dungeon, meets a boy who kills the player, and takes the dagger. After that, the player must go to the boy's master. Kai Xing decided not to go to the master right away. He saw where the boy hid the dagger when he left. If he finds it now, he will be able to pass not only the second branch of the quest, but also the first. Kai Xing had found the dagger, but now he was walking fearfully. Who knows, maybe he could be killed a second time. The guy returned to the Dead Ant Queen to absorb her skills. After that, he was going to go to Tang Huang right away, but the skill was not activated. Then Kai Xing decided that, apparently, all the essence is in the pet's egg. The guy went into the inventory and began to look at the characteristics of the egg. It was called the Mutated Queen of Fire Ants. The class was level 600. Category, Guild Pet Egg. In the description, it was written that after choosing a base, she can give birth to a tribe. After viewing the egg, Kai Xing went to Tang Huang, and he also needed to sell clothes. It turned out that it took him a long time to walk, because his legs are short and he can't walk fast. The guy urgently needed to find some kind of monster to parasitize him. Kai Xing raised his head to the sky and saw that something was flying at him. He barely managed to dodge. A fireball fell into the ground next to his nakedness. The guy was furious. What kind of jerk decided to shoot him? A player came out of the forest. He was red-robed, with red hair and with a staff. It was from this staff that he seemed to shoot. He didn't realize that Kai Xing was also a gambler, because he wasn't human, but looked like a jellyfish. Therefore, the player thought that Kai Xing was a talking monster. The red-haired guy began to tell that he had an ultra-rare monster trainer class. He invited Kai Xing to become his pet and travel together. To himself, the player thought only about the benefits. He thought Kai Xing was a high-level creature that could speak, so his level is about 500. If he can tame it, he will raise his class. Kai Xing tried to explain to him that he was not a monster, that he was a player just like him. Therefore, Tom needs to find himself another monster. But the newly arrived player had all his thoughts only about raising his level. He decided that Kai Xing was a super cool monster who could not only talk, but also lie. Then he must be level 700 or 800. Kai Xing was already furious. He had the feeling that he was talking to a wall. The guy decided to just tell the player to go to hell and leave. But it wasn't there. The red-haired guy threw fireballs at him, and he hit Kai Xing, but did not cause much damage. Kai Xing started shouting at the player, because he didn't seem to understand human speech. The guy again did not take Kai Xing's words in any way, only got angry. He decided that he could not come to an agreement with the monster and now he just needed to beat him to a pulp. Then Kai Xing completely lost his patience. He just said that he just wanted to play quietly and earn money. After that, he stabbed the player with his sword. He didn't even have time to react. It was the Hope Fang of the Ant tribe. The strength of the sword in battle was plus 75. Also, additional fire and poison damage imposes the effect of ignition and poisoning for 360 seconds. Suddenly, the partners of the deceased player ran out of Kausto. Their team consisted of a knight, a healer, and a magician. The commander ordered the healer to resurrect Ruo and the magician to attack. They shouted a battle cry and rushed at Kaizing. Kaizing immediately recognized the commander. He was a guy who constantly threatened him in real life, but now he will dance to the tune of Sin. After all, he is a master in games. The guy easily dodged the knight's attack, moving on to the body of the dead Ruo. There was already a healer next to the deceased. She was about to resurrect Ruo, but she didn't have time. Kaizing jumped on it and applied his new skill Symbiosis. The symbiosis began to take effect, but the girl began to behave strangely. Her breathing quickened and she blushed all over. The healer started saying that something strange was happening to her and asked her to stop Kaizing, but it looked as if she was pleased. The knight and Kaizing froze. The guys were shocked, but they liked the sight. Kaizing discovered information about symbiosis. There were 2 points. The first one said that when the target's health is lower than yours, then the target dies and becomes fully controllable. In the second paragraph, it was said that the target falls under the test of will and becomes fully controllable if the test fails. The main body and the symbiosis share experience points. Current symbiosis number 0 divided by 1. Kaizing was glad. He liked the way the test of will was going on. The knight was upset. The girl had never behaved like this with him. Kaizing, on the other hand, mocked him, saying that he should think about what he was doing wrong. The commander was furious, shouting, "Get away from her." He rushed at Kaizing. The guy easily dodged the blow and jumped on the girl's head. After that, the scoreboard lit up. It said that the symbiosis has been successfully activated and that Kaizing can now level up with the Orchid of the Mountain Valley player. The commander was very scared. He started calling Alan. He didn't know that she was already under Kaizing's control. And the doe came up to the knight, who did not suspect what was going to happen, and hit him in the jaw. The guy flew into the air and did not have time to fall, as Alan, under the control of Kaizing, took a staff and hit the knight on the head with all their might. The commander's health was almost at 0. Kaizing won instantly. Now Kaizing has learned that after symbiosis, he can use all the attributes and skills of the body he controls. He even saw all the characteristics of someone else's body. The guy also noticed that when using the 7-star blade, the power of the Medusa's body is used, and attributes are added. Kaizing realized that if he could use symbiosis on his first super account, then no one would have defeated him. While Kaizing was thinking, the knight had already regained consciousness. Then the guy decided to ask a couple of questions to the awakened one. At first he asked if the commander was not standing in line with his gaming helmet. The knight was terrified. He still didn't know if it was a player or a monster. Kaizing is sick of not listening to him and not responding to him. He screamed. Then the knight immediately began to answer. He said that he found a small dealer who stood in line for him, and in the end he did not pay him anything. This scumbag was justified by the fact that he was a businessman and could not waste his money and strength in vain, and the energy that he would have wasted standing in line went to pumping. And now he goes to the top 1,000 server players. The guy was so stupid that even after all that Kaizing had done to him, he decided to offer him a job at his place. Kaizing asked the price. The bastard immediately joined the conversation. The knight said that everything depends on Kaizing, and if he did not kill more monsters than he did, then the price would be low. Then the commander began to flatter. He said he could afford to pay Kaizing 100 gold per hour. Suddenly Kaizing healed the knight with divine light. The bastard thought Kaizing agreed, but it wasn't there. The commander started asking to show him the skills and attributes, but Kaizing did not do it. The guy took a staff and hit the bastard in the eye. And so he started in a circle. First heals, then beats. And so many times. When the knight was completely exhausted, Kaizing subdued his body to himself and took everything he had, leaving him in only his underpants. Kaizing received the order of the Divine Knight, Broken Sword, Strong Armor, Wait for the Tree Demon, Tree Man Branch, X10 Healing Potion, Grey Stone, Fluorite, and Blue Heart Grass. The rarest item was the Order of the Divine Knight. It was written in the stats that the combat power bonus was plus 70%, and the melee damage was plus 30%. Kai Yong was incredibly happy. Maybe now he could even become a knight. The healer girl was standing nearby in fear all this time. Then Sin's mind decided to switch to her. He decided to control her body again. The girl tried to run away, but she didn't succeed. Kaizing quickly subdued her body. But suddenly he had a feeling that he had missed something important. But the guy did not attach much importance to this. Kaizing decided to call Tang Huang. His friend ran so that his heels sparkled. Kaizing asked his friend if he was being chased. Tang Huang was outraged. After all, he was being chased precisely because of Kaizing. Suddenly, an arrow flew over Tang Huang's head. The guy barely managed to dodge. After that, he couldn't stand it and screamed for help. Tang Huang was being chased by the same elf girl whose breasts the guy had recently examined. She was riding a horse and she definitely wasn't going to stop until the guy died. Tang Huang was in despair. He started shouting at the girl that she was a fury and no one would marry her. These words of Ta Huang only angered the girl even more, and she continued the chase with renewed vigor. The guy started shouting to Kaizing that he had set him up very badly, because this girl had a divine bow from the very beginning of the game, which can shoot 3 arrows at once. Kaizing was only amused by the whole situation, but he immediately got to the point, asked me to give him the information he asked for. Tang Huang immediately sent a friend a map of Qingxi village and the position needed by the NPC. He also told a friend that he had just been a little magician to Perseus and said that he had found a first-class magical pet that could control people. The guy immediately threw off the coordinates of this pet Kaizin. Tang Huang also added that Perseus took 100 of his people with him, as well as the blinding sun also went there. The guy, like everyone else, was heading there and wanted to take an elf girl with him. Kaizing refused the offer. He understood that he was stuck at level 10 for a long time, and the change of class was the most important thing right now. In addition, this pet's skills may be weaker than his. Therefore, the best thing for him now is pumping. The guy decided to see where this place is by coordinates in order to stay away from it and not be distracted from the class change mission. But looking at the map, Kaizing saw that the coordinates of that pet and his match. It seems that he was the monster that everyone was going to hunt. Suddenly, someone's voice rang out behind the guy. Turning around, Kaizing saw the blinding sun and quickly became angry. After all, this particular player was his worst enemy. Blinding Sun was wearing shiny armor with a giant sword almost to his full height. He asked Kaizing, or rather the girl whose body our hero subdued, if she knew him. After all, the knight had never seen her before. Blinding Sun thought the girl knew him because he wasn't wearing a helmet. After all, without it, as it seems to him, he looks more beautiful. The guy decided to lean on the girl, but she quickly dodged. Her action angered him. How could she reject his favor? The girl also told him that you need to respect female players. Kaizing didn't want the Blinding Sun to even touch him a little. He was disgusted with him. Blinding Sun was angry. He started threatening the girl. If she didn't tell him right now where that new super cool monster was, he would kill her. Kaizing came up with a great idea. He replied to the Blinding Sun that, of course, he knows where the monster went, because he attacked his party members. After her words, the girl pointed out the direction where the monster had gone. Blinding Sun was outraged, because the girl did not obey him. But he decided not to arrange a conflict. Only pathetically said that while the girl can live and went to the forest to the monster. Kaizing didn't hesitate. He immediately activated the Blade of Hope of the Ant tribe. The guy decided to find out what his worst enemy is capable of. How could this scumbag rely only on the account that he stole and take second place in the top? This place belongs to Kaizing. Suddenly, Kaizing stumbled and began to fall. The upper part of the body was very heavy because of the chest. The guy did not expect this turn of events in any way. At that moment, Blinding Sun realized that he had been deceived. He decided to turn around. At the same moment, Kaizing, while falling, struck him a blow. He hit the bastard in the neck with all his strength and used all the abilities of the blade. Such a blow to the neck immediately killed any player, but not the Blinding Sun. The attack did almost no damage to him. His health decreased by only 1%. Blinding Sun was angry. What kind of bitch dared to attack him, the most attractive, strong and courageous player? They clashed with swords, but the impact of the Blinding Sun was much stronger than the girl's. But Kaizing, this fight only added adrenaline. He was delighted. So that's what a super account means. The Blinding Sun beat off the last blow and immediately struck the next one, but did not hit. Kaizing dodged and hit him on the arm, thereby knocking up his sword. Blinding Sun didn't have time to react. Kaizing did not hesitate. He abruptly detached himself from the girl and jumped on the head of the Blinding Sun using parasitism. But, unfortunately, it didn't work. But the guy assumed it. He didn't need to subdue his enemy's body. Kaizing pushed off from the head of his worst enemy and flew into the sky to the sword. Grabbing him, the guy landed on the Knight Commander, who was lying unconscious after Kaizing beat him and stripped him. Having subdued his body, Kaizing wasted no time, jumped up and ran into the depths of the forests. Blinding Sun was in shock. The first time he was outwitted and cheated. So, the first meeting in the game of Kaizing and Zhang Linyao ended. This is just the beginning. The real battles are still ahead. A silver-haired girl in a blue robe stood in front of the sand throne. She was telling the man sitting on the throne about the new super monster, Kaizing. She said that he has a very rare and unique race. He also activates the skill by touching the player's heads with his tentacles, and as soon as he touches the head, full control over the body is provided to him. That was the end of her report to the man on the throne. The Sand King immediately imperiously asked why she did not join the battle after the blinding sun was defeated. Because with her skill in fighting, the girl would definitely be able to catch the monster. The girl calmly replied that the blinding sun still ranks second in the top and a direct collision with it could affect the course of her master's mission. So she hired a professional gambler to track down the jellyfish. The silver-haired girl fulfilled the boss's order well, told him useful information. For this, the Sand King rewarded her. He gave her the frost armor, which gives a 45% defense bonus and cold damage resistance plus 100. And the Frost Dragon Shield, which gives a 60% defense bonus and which has the additional skill Chilling Blow. The girl thanked her master and was about to leave, but he did not let her go. The Sand King told her to change her gear right here. It was like being ordered to just change in front of him. The girl was distraught, but then the guy told her that if she did that, he would cut the percentage for her by half this week. The girl could not refuse this offer. She was very ashamed and embarrassed, but she still began to change into new armor. She took off her old ones and remained only in her underwear, which clung to her body and had an open back. The guy was very pleased. This is exactly what he wanted to see. As the reader has already understood, he was a fucking pervert. The Sand King started saying that this game is very unusual, with unlimited content and potential. He ordered the girl to obey him and believe in her strength, then she will be able to get rid of her debts very quickly. In the forest at this time, the very people that the pervert guy sent to look for a super monster were wandering in search of him. Suddenly, one of them was attacked by a monster. He bit the head of a guy with red hair, and now he was running and shouting to his comrades to help him. His partners immediately rushed to him, but when they saw that this was not the monster they needed, they did not help and told the red-haired man to kill the monster himself. At the same time, that super cool monster, or rather Kaizing, was sitting on the branches of the tree. He was incredibly pleased that he was able to take the sword away from the blinding sun. Now he was looking at the properties of the sword. It was called the Sunset Blade, but it could be renamed. In the attributes it was written that there is a growth artifact and also a bonus to combat power of plus 100. It was said in the skills that there is a growing desire. There was also tempering, which adds fire damage to the main damage during the attack. Blow mitigation, counterattack, which reflects damage by 10%, and flaming aura, which, when attacked, with a 30% probability, can cause damage to the enemy, a fire spell corresponding to the player's level. Kaizing started yelling at the whole forest, because the blinding sun turned out to be a complete moron. He did not know how to properly use this weapon and therefore pumped it into defense. But it was a perfect artifact that could learn skills. Kaizing was furious. Then suddenly Kaizing came up with an idea. He decided to feed the blade to Gluttony, so he will be able to keep these skills. But then Kaizing heard someone shouting from below. These were the three guys who were looking for just him. Because of Kaizing's screams, they had found him and were now going to shoot lightning at him. Kaizing barely managed to dodge the blow. It seems that before this, many people had already found our hero and tried to kill him, but these same people found him in just 5 minutes. Kaizing ran with all his might. The pursuers used different skills, but could not get in any way. Kaizing decided to try to use parasitism on the girl, but she managed to use the halo of resistance and threw the guy high into the air. She shouted to the others that she had been able to throw him into the air, and that the others should use their skills as soon as possible. But Kaizing pretended that he had expected this. He said it was a tactical retreat. The guy with red hair and a monster fish on his head has already managed to get rid of the monster, and now the monster fish was lying dead on the ground. That's what Kaizing used. He reconciled the parasitism, took control of the monster's body and ran. Finally, he shouted that when he changed classes, he would not run away from his pursuers. But then the unexpected happened. The arrow pierced into the body of the monster fish. Turning around, Kai Yaxing saw an elf girl with green hair, and Tang Huang was standing next to her. As he told Kaizing, he brought the girl to the super monster. Other players came with him. Kaizing was completely fucked. But the guy was not confused. He quickly jumped onto Tang Huang's hands and also quickly pushed off from them and jumped. Kaizing immediately used the Wanderer's Evasion in the air, which gave him the opportunity to teleport to a place he had already been 3 times a day. This, by the way, was a divine artifact. Tang Huang remained standing in disbelief. It took him a moment to realize that he had missed the monster everyone was hunting. After looking at everyone, the guy realized that now he was in a complete ass because everyone was looking at him angrily. Now everyone wanted to kill Tang Huang. Kai Yasin decided to quit the game. Taking it off, the guy got off the bed. Tang Huang was sitting in a chair nearby, but he was still in the game. But when he wakes up, he will get a big scolding from Kai Xing.